One Piece chapter 958. Now, first of all, a very strange way to start an act, and I'm sure a lot of questions will be said after this chapter because some things doesn't add up. It's almost like a murder mystery type of deal we have going on here. At least that's the vibe I got off of this chapter. But I'm definitely curious as to what happened here. This was the least I expected coming off of, the greatness that were chapter 956 and 957. Again, this was a very short chapter and there isn't a lot to talk about here apart from speculation and headcanon. But this is going to be interesting moving forward because I want to know what the community thinks about this chapter, especially towards the end, right? I expect to see speculation of what people think happened because we were honestly left in the dark in this chapter. But let's start from the beginning. Now, weirdly enough, we start the chapter with a flashback with Roger's crew right before the great age of pirates, which was great to see, especially seeing the dynamic within Roger's crew, which is very similar to Luffy's crew. We saw Roger and Crocus going at it. We also get to see Scopper there, but he didn't say anything, no dialogue. And obviously we get to see Oda here, but as usual, Oda chooses to silhouette him, which makes me believe that Oda is waiting for something specific to happen before his official reveal, or he might have something that could be related to things we've seen before. So Oda chooses to silhouette him as to not give away that clue. We also get a dialogue from Oden on how he wanted to open the borders of Wano. Now, interestingly, he also brings up that he wants to make this possible within 20 years in the future, which makes me believe that 20 years in the future is a key point for them, because this is also something we saw with Lady Toki, whereas she also decided to send Kinemon and the others 20 years in the future. I think there's definitely more that we're not aware of in terms of why they were sent specifically 20 years in the future, and I think that's going to play a role eventually, as it is something that the Red Scabbards themselves don't even know. And I think some big reveal is going to happen when it comes to that. Perhaps Lady Toki's ability might have played a role into why 20 years was the best option for them. And I've always thought that the Roger flashback in the beginning of this chapter was almost out of place. I feel like it was kind of redundant for us to see this flashback that gives us no exposition whatsoever, but after seeing the Viz manga translation, that changed a lot of things, especially regarding what Oden said. But I think Oda is trying to build towards something from this, and the 20-year time skip might actually be one of the key points for Act 3. So I'm actually looking forward to that plotline. Now, moving on to the mystery of this chapter. So after everyone separated in chapter 955, the Red Scabbards finally arrive at Port Takage, which is where everyone was supposed to meet up. But to their surprise, no one was there, and there was also no ships, which was very weird and suspicious. We already knew about key points that could have led up to this, and the biggest one being the Shogun, and from how the Shogun was depicted in this chapter, it seems like he was the cause of what made this happen. But the real question here is, how was he capable of doing this? Getting rid of this many people in a short amount of time is kind of crazy, especially when we're considering the strong fighters in the alliance like Luffy, Zoro, and all of those guys. Things aren't adding up. Now, it was hinted by Ashura Doji that the port was attacked, but the thing is, even if the port was attacked, it's hard to see anyone apart from the Calamities and the Yonkos take Luffy out. The fact that Luffy isn't here, even though it was the promised location, makes it even more weird. In other words, something drastic had to have happened here, and I think a change of plan is most likely what happened, and I think Law was very much involved with this plan, even though it was made in a way to make it seem like he was the traitor back in chapter 955. We have to remember that he's currently working with X-Drake, and I think it makes sense that X-Drake would have intel on the workings of the Shogun side of things, perhaps even revealing the traitor that was responsible for this. We don't necessarily know what X-Drake is planning, but I think it makes more sense for him to help the Alliance. I think he's in the same light as Capone, whereas he's going to tell the Alliance key things about the Beast Pirates, given that he's been with them for a very long time. And we also know that X-Drake and Law joined hands 5 days ago, so they've had a lot of time to prepare for what they have in store. Now, one of the other issues we've seen is that how were they able to get rid of 4,000 ships at the port? And my thing is that I assume that they must have found a way to go to Onigashima without being detected, because if you go to Onigashima with all those ships, I think more than likely they're going to be seen by Kaido's forces. And with characters like Big Mom and Kaido, who are both able to control the weather, that's going to be easy game for them. So my assumption here is that the ships have either gone to a different port, or Frankie coded the ships so they're able to get underwater, which makes entry to Onigashima possible without detection. But that's just my 2 cents on what I think happened. I think we need more context because we barely have anything to work with here except for key plot lines that pointed towards this, but I think we need more information before we can actually gather relevant ideas that correlates to this, right? But I want to know what you think happened here. Did they actually get captured, or do you think something happened that required them to change how they were going to move? Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe subscribe for more One Piece content. It is Pharaoh, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.